Dame Dash's continual fall off is something that might need to be studied. Maybe we'll do a little bit of studying in this. I'm Sean Longevity with Bringing Down the Band and New Old Heads podcast, and this is my Unpack series where I go deeper on New Old Heads segments. And on episode 441, we talked about Dame Dash and the fact that he was potentially having to give up, I think, $823,000 worth of his assets. So let's jump right into the video and kind of discuss.
Dame, like, man, you just can't go in here and talk to these people like this, man, because essentially, yes, they your partners, quote unquote,
but you work for them.
Man.
Yeah, but you know what? Those people were wrong.
Dame Dash, we all know Dame, Rockefeller. Dame is losing, apparently he is losing his copyrights to satisfy a $823,000 debt. Dame has been in the news for losing his copyright and his companies to satisfy that debt, which is actually $823,284. He owes those funds, to a filmmaker named Josh Weber. Should Dame Dash's ongoing financial and legal issues, particularly the forced sale of his assets, impact his credibility as a proponent of financial independence and anti-establishment ideals in the eyes of aspiring artists and entrepreneurs?
All right. So what Mike is saying there is Dame Dash is out here preaching, be your own person, do this yourself. You're lame if you have a boss, stuff like that. But at the same time, like, he's not doing super well right now. At least it doesn't seem like it, right? At least not in the public eye. Does that change our public opinion of him, or should it?
Now, if I was to boil that into one thing, you know where I'm going.
I'm going to say no, it shouldn't. But at the same time, you have to work for somebody sometime.
Good point.
You know what I mean? Like, especially Dame, you f***ed up out here, bro. Shake some ass.
We just talked about
some dignity.
Yeah, you
don't
got
shake no ass, though. You ain't got to tell me.
No, I'm saying you shouldn't shake ass.
Yeah, that's a grown man. No, you don't have him shaking ass.
No, he got to do something because, like, you're not making no money, bro. You're not making. If you got to sell off all of these assets right now, you know what I mean, to the point where these are the only thing that's generating money for you. You know what I mean? Like, bro, you've got to do something to get paid. And I know you doing a little. You can't use somebody else's name either to try to do that either, because, you know, every time, or as of recent, you know, Jay get in trouble or whatever, he get on these podcasts and he bring up something about Jay. It's not working, bro. Got to go out here and hustle for your last name, not your first, but you got to work for somebody else too. Like, so
he need to work for his son selling them cookies.
Man, you got to do something, bro.
Okay, that's petty. So that's petty. Let me throw this.
I ain't never seen them.
Who?
Them cookies.
That's petty too.
Look, I'm just saying, like you got the game and you got the knowledge. Your son got these cookies. You've done it before. Jay said it.
Make another hoe.
Yo, the bravado on that interview though it's gonna be in history. Like, we'll never. That's one of those ones, if you will, from the Breakfast Club.
Dame Dash's fall off might be studied.
I'm glad you said that, because
all respect to Dame Dash for what he's done, but like the last 10, 15 years.
The reason I'm glad you said it, Lone, because I was going to throw out, we've been outside long enough to see the rise and the fall.
What he's done cannot be, like, you can't take that away from him.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? And
Agreed.
I think, but that's kind of like, what's the Hove bar? That's where it stops. You know, like, every time Dame talks, I take it with a grain of salt. You know, it's just kind of like, there might be some gems in there, but it just seems like he's been falling on bad times. And why he's falling on bad times, I don't know if it has. It seems like some part of his business acumen is lacking.
Self-inflicted?
It might. And the reason why I say that is because he does so much. And even in this segment, I found out even more of the ideas and stuff that he was doing that I had no idea he was a part of. But like, if you've got this many businesses and like none of them seem to be doing super well, like there's got to be something going on that's deeper than just the idea. Might be self-inflicted. It might be related to his ego. It might be related to what he's projecting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's just what I take from it. So,
I mean, and
I do actually think that it's his ego. It feels like that. It feels like that.
This is where Dame Dash is so important to the culture.
Facts.
And it's,
I would say is or was. Definitely was. But is he from this, and definitely from a historical standpoint? Yes, undoubted. But if we're looking at him from where he is right now,
it's hard for me to see him in this way because you know what? When nobody else believed in Jay-Z, he did. You know, he was one of those people that believed in Kevin Hart. You know, putting him in what was it, Paper Soldiers?
Yeah,
Paper Soldiers.
He was, you know,
and Death of a Dynasty.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're talking about, you know, Lee Daniels. There are all these people that Dame Dash has essentially, you know, done things for or worked with, who have gone on to do whatever they've been able to do. Now, I don't know what those relationships were. Maybe Dame Dash said something to where
He said Lee Daniels owing money.
He did.
I mean, you know, and
He
so
paid
that,
him.
okay,
Oh, well.
you know, because I remember at one point, you know, he had done I think that was the movie The Woodsman with Kevin Bacon. That was the Lee Daniels situation, and you know, I know he stood up for against Weinstein when nobody else would say anything about him. You know, so Dame Dash is important to the culture. I don't want anyone to get that messed up, and we have to give him his props for believing in so many people
Sure.
when no one else did. When no one was trying to give Kanye West a record deal,
Good
Dame
point.
Dash was like, "Let's go."
and you know, in hindsight, maybe he shouldn't have. No, I'm kidding.
When it was,
But he stayed with Jay.
He did.
you know,
Choices.
and so I don't know what these choices are about. It may not even really be my business, but I'm just saying.
I do.
So what I hate to see it, but at the same time, like there's also a situation where like, hey man, the same people you see up on the way up, they say it all the time. Same people you gonna see on the way
Jump
down.
in, B. What'd you say?
They got rid of the reason they had to get rid of Dame, man, is just because he was so abrasive in nature, man. You know what I mean? Like, I understand standing up for your people, but sometimes you can't go in there and talk to these people like this sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, you look at those videos.
Yeah, he was a little rah-rah.
Yeah, like you could look at the videos of him on the Hard Knock Life documentary.
Mm-hmm. The backstage,
Yeah, backstage. Yeah, you could actually.
when he's screaming on Kevin Lyles, I remember that specifically.
Yeah,
That one right there is
the blackout. There's several
Fade to Black.
Fade to Black. Yeah, there are several instances where Dame, like, man, you just can't go in here and talk to these people like this, man, because essentially, yes, they your partners, quote unquote,
But you work for them.
man.
Yeah, but you know what? Those people were wrong. You know what I'm saying? They when I know the part where he ran into Def Jam's, they had a whole meeting
with
without
Jay-Z.
him. You know, and that's not even something that's in ethics.
You know, so that goes like Dame has been right a lot in his history. But the thing that continually kind of like stands out to me personally is just his approach. The way that he speaks to people, the way like he puts a lot more emphasis on the fact that he is potentially right about something as opposed to approaching something from the right angle. Like there are different ways to communicate something to get to the point so that you can accomplish the thing that you need. And it's something that I've had to learn throughout the years too, you know, being a little neurodivergent. And it's like you have to understand that you can say the right things, you can have all the right intentions, and you can do all these things, and you can think that being right is the number one thing, but it's not. The human element is the most important thing. And if you can't connect with people on that human element, then a lot of times your message is going to be missed. And you also have to give people space and grace.
I think it was just his footage that he had.
Say
Them
your
people were
piece.
wrong.
Say your piece and shut the up. The thing is, he go in there and he scream on them for 20, 30 minutes, man. You don't have to do that.
Maybe
You know,
it's just
but Kevin Lyles was wrong for giving everybody a Def Jam
Yeah, I mean,
jacket when it wasn't a Def Jam tour.
yeah, I mean, there were some wrong things that were done, but somebody
But again, like to Byron's point though, like get your point across, say what you need to say, and give people time to reflect on the thing that they did was wrong. Because like beating them into the ground does nothing except it just makes you feel good about yourself. Like that's all that it's doing.
the mind of Dame Dash, there should have been somewhere in there where he shouldn't have to be selling off all these assets. He should have found something else or partnered up with somebody else versus going on a Chitlin circuit tour talking about Jay trying to accumulate income to save shit.
But that's why Jay had to remove himself from Dame.
Right, now I understand that.
You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
because, like, bro, I can't bring you into these Fortune 500 corporations and you continue to talk to these people like this. You're like, understand? Yes, I understand. We are great. We are doing
The
business
culture.
like this. Yes. But this is not going to work in here like that. You can still get your point across without talking to these people like
Well,
that.
the thing about it was, I think that was the plateau for Dame, and Jay-Z seen other things. He was like, I don't want it to stop here. I want it to keep going. He had even told his label mates and people signed to him that there's certain things that I'm not going to be involved with anymore because I can't be involved with that anymore.
True.
Memphis Bleak just talked about that. He is like, and a lot of the artists didn't believe him. He was like, whatever, he just talking, blah, blah, blah. And then when it happened, it was like, damn, this dude left us like that. He told y'all what he was going to do. Pretty much that if y'all
Straighten
want
up and fly
to
right.
ride with me, then you're going to have to do it like this. And Memphis Bleak was even like, I wasn't doing right like that. So, I mean, he had to do what he had to do. I mean, it is what it is, man. But with Dame, he's an absolute pioneer when it comes to setting a blueprint for what a label could do in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, and that's extremely true. So much respect to Dame Dash for the stuff that he was a part of and he's contributed to. Like, you cannot discount and discredit the things that he has been a part of and the stuff that he has been behind. But man, he seems like, and I'm going to say this in this episode, he seems like an idea person. And he seems like a bulldog when it comes to it. And it feels like he's the person, he needs more people around him that can execute his ideas.
That has now evolved, and he didn't evolve with it. So now he's left behind trying to figure some things out because some of those investments that he made trying to be a boss and a CEO didn't pan out and didn't work for him.
That's the thing that really sucks about it though, because like hell, he's had some success prior to that. You know what I mean? Like him and Currency.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That situation went sour. You know what I mean?
There's
Like,
lots of things. The CEO brand. I know somebody that bought the CEO brand shoes and shirt. It took 3 or 4 months for him to get these shoes. He said once he got the shoes, they were trash.
yeah.
It wasn't the same material that it looked like online. I mean, these are businesses that you're running, and you're you know what I'm saying? It's a CEO kid or kids, whatever you call it. But at the end of the day, it's not a representation of what you were promoting. And then I didn't get it in a timely fashion, and it wasn't what I expected.
I mean, it's Dame is. We talk about legacy. His legacy as a executive in the Rockefeller movement, that's undeniable.
No, it is.
You'll never be able to take that away from him. But a lot of things that have come with him in the past, like after Rockefeller, is perception versus reality. Because it sound good when you get on the interviews and you're talking about, I own this and I own that and I have to work for the man, and all that. It sounds good.
Hey, bro said he had an oil company.
Come on, man. He said, I'm a tycoon.
Look, I remember I tried to buy. He had the Dusko whiskey.
Yeah.
I tried to buy, but there was a whole thing about shipping like over state lines. There's a weird thing about whiskey.
It was going to take 4 months to get it.
It wasn't even that. It was just about like if you don't have a certain level of distribution through these major companies, you're not going to be able to get things over state lines. The liquor game is crazy. But I was interested enough to where I wanted to support him. I was like, okay, if he got that, I'll have that. I remember on the same website, it was like, okay, get the Dusko sweatshirt, but like they didn't have my size at that time. And when I kept checking back, they never had it, and so like, there's a lot of good ideas there that maybe if he'd have partnered with somebody as opposed to trying to do it himself. Like I remember seeing him on I think he was talking to Snoop Dogg about a movie, and Snoop was like, yeah, I got this money from this person. And he's like, oh, damn, what? I tried to pay for the whole thing. And I get why, because on a cultural level, especially within hip hop, so much we don't own what we're supposed to own, but it's because like someone came along with a deal and we were so happy to sign and be in the game that we didn't realize that we didn't own the songs, we didn't own the publishing, we didn't own this, that, and third. And so like I understand where Dame's mentality is. I'm gonna put my own money up, and whatever happens, I'm gonna own it. But a lot of times when you see this with other entrepreneurs, it's hard to talk to somebody who owns 50% of something and then listen to somebody who owns 100% of nothing. And that's what a lot of times happens in the game. I don't want to call what Dame Dash owns 100% of nothing right now, because hey, I remember looking at the CEO joints and like I wanted to support him, but I'm like, okay, well, how do I stream your situation or whatever? But I was like, nah, he has good idea. I mean, look, he tried to put out an MP3 player. I remember he had the rock box.
Sure did.
You know, I remember when they.
These are like 3 things back to back, 3 or 4 things back to back. I just had no idea that he tried to do. I mean, I knew that he tried to do a lot of things, but it's crazy.
Bart, you know, even though it was harsh, that Armadale vodka, you know.
And just from the outside looking in, like if I look at somebody like to invest in somebody like Dame Dash, who has his hand in everything, and he's got this, maybe he wants to be an investor. I don't know exactly where he's at with this, but like if he comes up with this cool idea and he wants to execute it, like if me as somebody with money and I'm looking at your past history of all the stuff that you've done, and the fact that you can't stay still, and none of the stuff has really been super successful. I mean, it may have reached a certain level of success, you know, in general, but a lot of these things are just like kind of cool ideas. Seems like they're kind of in the moment ideas, and then he gives up on it. Like that doesn't make me want to invest any further.
Back in the day,
I was gonna bring that up.
We was so into whatever they were doing.
They were smart.
I was willing to try to give it a chance, even if there was already something else in the.
But that time has passed. Like that time has passed, and I feel like there's enough data to know that like if Dame Dash drops something right now, he's went to the other side. Like he's burned too many people.
The marketplace that was like that, but you know, at a certain point, you have to have an idea that's so good, and sometimes that good idea has to be a partnership with somebody.
Yeah,
I know.
I think
too. Yeah. You got to work. You got to find people that. Yeah, I'm going to talk about this in a little bit, but
I think that him wanting to do everything on his own, I appreciate what he's trying to do, but I understand why it doesn't always work, especially when we're talking about, you know, a multinational, whatever situation where nobody does anything alone anymore.
Yeah, I think a part of it too, which was unfortunate for him, was his divorce from Rachel Roy.
Tore that ass up.
They had a company and a lot of assets together that in turn went to her. So he lost a whole lot during that divorce. Now that could be responsible for his downfall or decline, to be honest with you. So I mean, you got to kind of give him some grace with some of this shit, but in the same token, entrepreneurship is hard.
Yeah.
So imagine they say more money, more problems. He had a whole lot of money doing this entrepreneur shit and lost a whole lot of money doing this shit too. So I mean, I don't know, man.
I mean, some people want to bring up his spending habits. I'm like, man, that's not, you know, okay, maybe you can attribute some of it to that, but at the same time, like when you are doing other things and then you just look around, you might be doing 10 things. You only need one of them to pop. You know, just like most big companies, they have something that's a loss leader.
I think,
like, but at the same time, when you got 10 things and none of them pop, that's what happens. That's what's happening with Dame right now. He just didn't have that one thing that popped.
But he's not a company. He's a person that has ideas.
There we go.
And that's where I'm a person with ideas too. I have a bazillion of them, you know, like, and I know what it's like to get too stretched out on a whole bunch of ideas. Mm-hmm. You guys are just mentioning all these things that Dame's been a part of. I haven't heard of half of these things. Like, it's like, why do you have so many things? Like, why do you have?
Because you just need one of them to work.
Well, but it just seems like he's an idea person.
Yeah, he got his own cable network.
And okay.
Lowe's like, okay.
But why? Like, why? Like, just do a couple things that work really well. I think even bigger than that, it's like, you get in your own way when you're not a likable person.
That's the bar.
And Dame, even though like he has a lot of respect for the things that he's done in hip hop, and like everybody gets respect is what I meant to say. He said people wanted to support him through a lot of this stuff. Like he comes across as an asshole more times than not. He comes across as a know-it-all more times than not. He comes across as somebody who is going to tell you how to do it, even if he hasn't fully executed his idea more times than not. And I don't think that he's not really good at what he does, but half of being a good businessman is being likable. And if people don't like who you are in those rooms, like you were mentioning, Byron, like how are you going to get from here to here? You know? So I don't know. I don't know Dame personally. My analysis from the outside looking in would be he doesn't appear to be somebody that when he has a good idea. Now granted, maybe he wants to do everything himself. And that's definitely been the case for a lot of things. But he also does not seem to be somebody that works well with others, which may be part of the reason why he wants to do things himself, because he thinks he can execute them better. He wants full ownership, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. I don't know intricate details of Dame Dash's head. But from the outside looking in, he is an asshole. You know, he is somebody who doesn't give a lot of leeway to other ideas outside of his own. And this is based upon just watching his interviews, watching people critique him in real time. He is not somebody who is just in general, somebody that is likable. He's somebody that you can look up to, and maybe he can people would want to aspire to be him based upon the stuff that he'd done early on. But from an individual characteristic, from a character base, he's the villain. And that doesn't inspire those around you. And no matter how brilliant, no matter how much of a genius you are, no matter how great the stuff is that you've done in the past, almost all of it's for naught if you can't get people to buy into the things that you need to buy into because they can trust you and they feel that you're going to have their best interests at heart. And there's a real people element that's missing with Dame Dash. That's been evident in his entire career. And if you follow his career line, it's been public, you can see this fall off. And I think it stems, I personally think, and this is my unexperienced, again, I don't know him, but from the outside looking in, it looks like most of it is contributed to the fact that he is not a likable person to be around. I also am somebody that would, for a very long time in my life, I'm somebody that would take an idea and want to do everything himself. And if anybody wasn't up to par, I would just be like, it needs to be done this way. Let's do it this way. And I'm still that way. I'm still kind of bulldogish in a lot of ways because I want I do think there's a certain amount of gumption that's necessary. But one thing that's more important than that is putting trust in people and figuring out how to motivate people, figuring out how to be a good leader, and those are the things. Some people are so afraid of being the follower that they'll try to lead even when they shouldn't. And there's books on that, So I don't know. I don't want to make this I don't want to critique Dame Dash's personal character like that. It's not really my place. But if I'm looking at it from the outside, looking in, he's a self-described asshole, essentially, and you can only go so far with that.
Good point, Long.
No, I mean,
I don't know what that's like, but just from observing from the outside and knowing who this guy is for the last 25, 30 years, that's what I get from it.
No, look, man, as much as I've tried to put on for Dame here, I think one of the worst things he did was that Breakfast Club interview when he was talking about equity and cookies and how could you calling another man daddy. I was like, whoa. Do you know how many men went out and did things that they didn't want to do because they wanted to support people that they cared about?
Yep.
And just because they didn't take some of that time. And I took offense to that very much because I felt like he was talking about my father and my grandfather who, got up in the morning and maybe worked for people, but made a great life for their families.
Yeah.
And so was he wrong as far as wanting to hustle for your last name and create something for yourself? No, he wasn't. But the way he said it was so offensive. And I think it turned so many people away from him that I bet if he could have that interview back, he would take it, talking about equity and cookies.
But
I got it at the time. But at the same time, the things you said about these people having jobs where they support their families, you made it seem like they were doing something dishonorable. And that was something that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
But Jay, when you're a narcissist, when you're an asshole,
oh my God,
you don't care about that. I don't think he takes that back. Even in his current situation right now with everything that's coming down.
Because he meant it.
He meant that. That's who he is. When a person shows you who they are, let them show you who they are. That's consistently who he's been this whole time. And you could see people, to Lone's point, I can imagine the side meetings, man. He's got some great ideas, but I don't want to deal with him. He's got some great ideas, but I don't want to deal with him.
There's somebody else in that original campaign that's going through the exact same thing right now. His name is Kanye West.
See?
Yep.
So
and he said, "Why you think me and Dame cool? We assholes."
Well,
that he's shown us who he is over time. So no, I don't think he would do it different.
I preach this a lot of times, almost in any trade you do, people skills a lot of times for people that hyper focus on being good at a technical skill. The people skill aspect is something that is so overlooked. Having good people skills, learning how to have good social skills, how to interact with people is such an important trait. And the people that are really brilliant are the people that are geniuses that also understand that as well.
If anything, he probably turned up even more if he could.
Maybe I'd like to think maybe I'm shooting Dame too much bail.
You still do too much bail right now on that
like,
part.
you know, if he there, because a lot of times people who are quote unquote assholes, they say, no, I don't take back nothing. I do this, that, and the third. I was like, but you know, if you really broke them down,
come on,
it was like, do you really want to be that much of a jerk out here? You know, do you really just have no empathy or understanding for people who live and create differently than you, that you just don't understand? Like, I would like to think that Dame has some contrition and some, I mean, like, because, you know, he's being humbled, unfortunately, in front of the entire world every day.
But this ain't the first time.
You're acting like how Terry acted about Kanye for the first 6 years on the show.
That's a very good one. That's good.
But yeah.
Hey, man.
Terry came home, though.
The first 6 years on this show, Terry defended Kanye through everything. And we were just like, come on home. And then eventually he did. But eventually.
He came home.
It hurt.
He came home, though. I give him that.
I don't have anything else to say after what Lone said. I mean, I think that summed it up.
Yeah.
I hope he
perfectly,
succeeds.
Man. Like, if anybody, like, once people put that asshole label on you, man, and they just don't like you.
Yeah.
Part of doing business is actually liking a person that you're doing business with. And if we can't get along, you know what I mean? Unless there's some dollar signs, like, I might do it if the amount is substantial enough.
But even then, you're gonna be conflicted because you're gonna be like, man, I'm getting this bread, but I hate this. I hate this person. You know what I'm saying?
He ain't got enough to spend. I mean, just like, he has enough money to pay a bunch of people to be a yes man.
True.
Pusha T pretty much was like, I hated working with that dude. You know what I'm saying?
I respect him for it.
You gotta have money. You gotta have money to play. Dame doesn't have the same.
I feel like we could all witness that on the outside, though. Like, Kanye seemed kind of insufferable from the My Dark Twisted Fantasy era all the way up until he became actually insufferable to everybody in public. But in private, like the studio sessions, like, I remember thinking to myself, like, I wouldn't want to even participate in this. Like, this doesn't even seem enjoyable at all.
Same money to play anymore, and it's
outside of the fact that it was Kanye West and and all that stuff
showing in his businesses and his failures.
Because when he was up, he was the same person he is now.
It's the same shit.
But when he was talking about them jackets and stuff, he was up. So it hits different when you're up.
But I mean, this is the thing where it's so hard for people to feel sorry for you when you basically shows like, oh no, I never wear the same pair of socks twice. I take socks off and throw them in the trash.
That part.
Like, that's kind of hard for somebody who's worried about the price of eggs and you want them to feel sorry for you. Or, I mean, I don't even think Dame wants us to feel sorry for him.
No, you got to understand too.
I take that back. He don't want us to feel sorry
broke
for him.
as somebody rich is a different type. It's not the same.
Talk
broke
to
as
him,
somebody
right?
Because
really
he probably
talk
still
to
got a
him.
pool.
Talk to him.
I mean, he still got money. He still has, you know what I'm saying?
He's got assets.
He's not poor.
Talk to him.
I mean, same way with MC Hammer. MC Hammer went broke, but he didn't go regular broke.
Yeah.
He went rich people broke. That still means you have millions of dollars.
Yeah, Hammer's not. He ain't hurt.
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was supposed to have gone
broke
broke
a lot of times.
Yeah, exactly, but he's not broke.
At the end of the day, we can end it here, but at the end of the day, we can separate the two. Dame's business ventures and his personality have affected his, career or whatever, but we also know what he has done, and we can never take that from him. I think everybody agrees with that.
He doesn't have any scandals or anything like that would make anybody just disown him totally from what he's done.
And if anything, he's been too much of a stand-up dude, which is a messed up thing in this society to where, when you tell people the Weinsteins ain't shit, before everybody else knows that, you wind up being a pariah. But it was like, I told y'all.
But it's in the delivery too.
It is.
And his delivery is just horrible. It's just like,
it's always been horrible.
I mean, it's who he is.
That's why I think if he really could, he really would take back that Breakfast Club interview where he was screaming on DJ Envy and Charlamagne and telling him, like, y'all got a daddy because you don't own this radio station. Like, I think he would take a lot of that back.
Well, I know Dame dropped a new project. I think it's his rock band and Freeway's on it.
Yeah, we don't need to get into that. I'm not interested in a Dame Dash rock band. But yeah, like, I wish him success, and just like I wish everybody success, but I don't, it's hard to succeed whenever Byron made a really good point about being labeled as an asshole and it kind of sticking with you. Like, it's going to take a lot to overcome. He's going to actually have to like be a better person in general, or he's just going to have to, maybe he's doing just fine right now. Maybe he is, like maybe his private life is his private life and his public life and the personas are different. I don't know. Honestly, I don't really care. But, if I'm looking at this from the outside and anything with Dame Dash involved, there's an asterisk next to it. Like, it seems like a get quick rich scheme or just a cool idea. Is it going to be executed great? Probably not. there's not a good history of that, you know, and I said 10 to 15 years, but it's really closer to 20, really close to 20 to 25 years to where that's been the case. So I don't know, man. I don't want to see anybody fail, but you know, we're at where we're at. And to Jay's point too, he has been right on a lot of stuff, but it is in the delivery. His delivery is just garbage, and you know, he needs to go. He needs to go and address that, I think. So, anyways, it's been unpacked. Longevity. Appreciate y'all being here. If you want to catch these full episodes, these full segments of the New Old Heads, it's patreon.com/newoldheads. Get involved. All right, peace.